Hi everyone, I'm Sam Fritz, the Director of EdTech and AI at Solution Tree, and we're live from the PLC at Work Institute in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're excited for a new podcast series, From Foundation to Future, PLC and AI in Education. This series, recorded live on site, captures the energy of the Institute to provide fresh ideas, authentic voices, and an inspiration for educators at every stage of their journey. Dive in with us as we talk to our keynoters, presenters, and attendees to learn from their success and challenge.
So our next guest on our podcast is Bill Ferreter, longtime educator, 29 years as a classroom teacher, right?
Yep, full-time classroom teacher.
Started in third grade.
Moved to fifth, then I wanted to coach and ended up in middle school.
Okay.
So,
Why did you decide to stay classroom teacher that whole time?
I don't know. I mean, it's where my heart is,
Yeah.
right? Like every single day when you're a classroom teacher, you end up in front of a group of kids and inevitably you can see light bulbs go off inside their minds. There's kids who learn things as a result of you.
Yeah.
And your action in that moment is what made the difference. And there's something deeply satisfying about watching that happen over and over and over again for your whole career.
Absolutely.
I never wanted to lose that, right?
Yeah. Well, we're going to focus our attention today on AI,
Right.
something you're passionate about, something you talk a lot about.
Sure.
And we're not going to get into all the, in 20 minutes, what AI is, right? But
Yeah,
we're going to assume people kind of have heard of it and know what it is. But we're going to clarify two things. So I call them co-pilots or assistants and then agents, right? Co-pilots are, or an agent or an assistant is really prompted by the user.
Sure.
So that's like
Yeah, so I think
ChatGPT.
the assistant that I use the most often is ChatGPT.
Okay.
And if you think about ChatGPT, it's a pretty easy, simple interface. It literally has a box that you type a question or a task in, and then it'll go and try to complete the task for you. But the key, as we were talking about, is that you have to develop the prompt.
Right.
Right? There isn't any support for prompt development in an assistant.
That's true.
So, and that's beautiful because you can create whatever prompt you want, but you have to do the heavy lift of crafting the prompt.
Absolutely. And then agents really popular now. And I think agents are often synonymous with automatic or running, in the background. So what is an agent to you? Or how do you use an agent work?
Well, I think what teachers think of when they think of agents, the one they'll be most familiar with is a tool like Magic School, where you'll sign into the agent, you'll sign into the tool,
Right.
and there's a series of tasks that it can complete for you. And so if you want to write a rubric, you click on a particular box, it'll ask you for some basic information about your grade level and your standard, and then it'll write a rubric for you.
Yeah.
So you're getting structured support in writing the prompt and in creating the product. So an agent provides more support for the user in crafting a prompt or in crafting a product. And an assistant doesn't have nearly as much of that support, but it has more flexibility for you as a user because you can create whatever you want.
Yeah. And they both have different uses, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I wanted to, we talked before we started recording, do you remember the first prompt that you gave a large language model when it came out? I mean, how long ago did you start using AI tools?
Oh, right away. I mean, it must have been the fall of maybe 2022.
Yeah.
I think November of 2022
Right.
is when ChatGPT became widely available to users. I think the first prompt that I ever asked was to unpack a standard.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I always hated doing that
Right.
as a classroom teacher.
It's very time consuming.
Yeah, super. I always believed in the process, but it was so cumbersome I didn't want to do it. So
I used to have
see
like
it unpack
highlighters.
a
Did you do
standard,
that? Like
yeah,
highlighters
you
and
underline
pens,
things
underline,
and bracket things
yeah.
and circle things. And so when I saw that an AI chatbot could unpack a standard, for me, that was like it was convincing enough that this is something I should embrace or invest some time into. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, when I first started, about the same time, I think. But my first prompt, I don't remember the exact one, but I remember the response was awful.
Oh,
It was not useful, and I heard a lot of people at the time were saying, "Oh, it's just glorified Google search." Right?
yeah,
and
I heard the same.
And then I learned that it wasn't that at all. And it was. So, do you remember the moment that you were, or the prompt or the task where you decided this is going to change everything?
Well, yeah, for me, it was that whole notion of I'm driven in my professional work. I'm driven to help teachers see the value in collaboration. And almost everywhere I go, teachers aren't opposed to the idea of working together, but they're overwhelmed by the amount of time that it takes to do work well together.
Yeah.
And so for me, that whole notion of let's unpack a standard and let's write a proficiency scale, those to me are the two core steps of a collaborative team. When I realized that AI could help teachers to get to depth of thought in those two actions alone, that's when I realized it could be a game changer. Because I realized that we could start asking teachers to do things that we all know are worth doing, but we're not sure we have the time, energy, and effort to pull off.
Right, absolutely.
Right, so that in organizational theory, it's that notion of transaction costs, right?
Yep.
How much time, energy, and effort is what you're asking me to do versus how much perceived benefit will I get? I started to see the transaction costs of collaborative behaviors come down because AI tools were able to facilitate things that are important but weren't always doable.
Yeah. I heard you talk about doability quite a bit. It's not that I disagree with the need to do it, it's the doability that's the stopper.
I think that's the key for most teachers. Yeah. Like when you come back and pitch an idea to a group of teachers, if you're a school leader, we respect your knowledge, we respect your belief about the direction that our school needs to go in. We're almost never opposed to whatever task you're asking us to do, but we're immediately going to measure it against two criteria. How doable is it and how important is it?
Yeah.
If you give us a fantastically important idea that we can't pull off, it's not that we don't understand the value in it. We just don't think we can do that work consistently and intentionally enough times to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. And your belief, and I think mine too, is that AI is going to increase the doability of lots of things.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
If we can facilitate meaningful work using AI, if we can lower the transaction costs necessary to do important work, then teachers do important work more frequently.
Right.
That's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And, we hear a lot about, we've both talked about this, where AI is not going to replace humans, but AI is going to replace humans who don't know how to use AI.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. And I think it should resonate to all educators,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think that humans who understand how to use AI to facilitate the most important parts of their job end up becoming more skilled than colleagues who don't know how to use AI to do the same work.
Yeah.
And for classroom teachers, obviously that's a big deal, right? Like if our goal is to ensure that all students learn at the highest levels, we're going to have to work differently in order to be able to achieve that goal. And if AI can facilitate that, that's a win. Teachers who know how to use AI will reach more students than teachers who don't. But I think it's an even bigger deal when we're talking about the students that we're graduating.
Yeah.
I worry about the kid who's in high school right now, whose teachers haven't yet embraced AI as a tool for learners and who haven't been taught that AI can facilitate their own learning journey. And then those students graduate, go off to college, and are competing against kids who maybe do know how to use AI more productively. And then they leave college and they're competing against people in the workplace who do know how to use AI productively. I think in the end, a facility with AI in whatever field you happen to be in is going to be a differentiator between top performers and average performers, and between average performers and people who can't even get in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've both kind of said this, but not outright, which is you can do a lot with a co-pilot, with an assistant that just has the ability for you to prompt. So talk to me a little bit about what your experience has been with that. I know you have hundreds of prompts that you just give away.
Right.
Because it's not a huge secret, right? How to do it. It just takes a little bit of time and effort.
It's actually an interesting takeaway for your listeners is I have a website. You can just go to bit.ly.com/AI prompt sets, and you can access every single collection of prompts that I've ever put together for any collaborative task.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think is important for people to recognize is that when you get good at writing a prompt, when you can craft a prompt, you can literally tackle any specific task that you want to get done. There isn't a thing that you can't do with AI as long as you can think through the kinds of questions to ask an assistant to do. And that takes front-loaded time.
Yep.
It takes practice. It takes tinkering.
Yep.
Right? I'll write a version of a prompt and see how it comes out, test it in an assistant, see if I get content that's worthwhile. If I don't get content that's worthwhile with the first draft of the prompt, I have to edit that prompt, make a second draft or a third draft. And sooner or later, you get to the point where you're creating a work product that's just brilliant, like something that you would never have been able to create on your own quickly or easily. I call that front-loaded time because it takes time to work out the prompt.
Yeah.
But once you've worked out the prompt, you can use that over and over and over again forever.
Right.
And the interesting thing is that in an assistant, like ChatGPT, which is my personal favorite, I don't pay for any of that, right? The tool is free to use.
Yeah.
I may eventually run out of prompts if I ask too many, but for the most part, even in the free version of the tool, as long as you're willing to think through your prompt and craft what you're asking the AI assistant to do for you, you can get really great work products for nothing. Yeah. With no investment of any kind of cash whatsoever. Right. So as an assistant learns more about who you are as a user, it can integrate its understanding of you into its interactions with you. Yeah. That's a win.
It is. And if you're brand new to it and you're getting started, you can tell it all that. You can front load, like you talked about front loading. You can just put that in the first prompt. Here's who I am. Right. Here's what I teach. Here's what I do. Here's what I like. Here's about my kids. Here's some things you should know about my students.
Sure.
I have a wide variety of different backgrounds.
It's always helpful if you are trying to create content for a specific age or age of student, grade level, subject area. It's always helpful to put that into the prompt. Because what it does is it teaches the assistant where in its knowledge base to go look for an answer. Yeah. So if you're telling it that you're a third grade teacher and you're working on a specific science standard, if you tell it that you're a third grade teacher and you tell it the standard you're working with, it can narrow down its response based on the knowledge that it can draw from its own knowledge base. Right. The more information you include in a prompt, the better the quality of the content that you get out of the prompt.
What are some key things that you have learned to put in your prompt? If you're just starting, a new thread, brand new thread, and I want a new topic, are there some keys that you think you need to include?
I think it's always good to tell it, if you're trying to create a work product for students, it's always good to tell it the grade level of the student. Yeah. That'll customize the level of the response that it gives you. I think it's always good to tell it if you're working on a specific standard, tell it the specific standard you're working on. Why? Because it can give you an understanding of the standard and can tie whatever content it's creating back to that individual standard. I think it's always good to tell it specifically the format that you want the content to be returned. If you want a bulleted list, ask for one. If you want a table, ask for one. And if you're asking for those kinds of things in advance, then the responses that you get are more likely to be useful to you out of the gate.
Yeah. And I think rarely do I copy paste directly from what I get. I always look at it, evaluate it, tweak it myself. How about you?
I always laugh because teachers are convinced kids are cheating with AI.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced there's a lot of teachers cheating with AI.
I was just laughing, yeah.
And what we do to cheat with AI is we ask for a prompt, like write me a set of assessment questions that I can use on an upcoming assessment. And then we copy and paste that without looking at it.
Right.
We're giving away our professional authority at that point. Like in the end, our responsibility is to ensure that anything we put in front of students is accurate, that anything we put in front of students aligns with the expectation of the standard we're trying to teach, that anything we put in front of students is going to produce information that's useful to us. And so if we're not evaluating the content that's been given back to us by the AI chatbot, I would argue we're acting unprofessionally. Yeah. We're no different than the kid that we accuse of cheating.
Right.
Because we're not bothering to review any of the information that the chatbot's returned.
Yeah.
My little go-to phrase is don't let it tell you what to think, let it give you something to think about.
That's a great
It's
point.
the way to think about it, right? Like when it comes back, I'm going to review it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So if I had to give a recommendation about where to start, it would literally be Google AI prompts for teachers and then open up an assistant and take them for a spin. Yeah. What can that assistant be? Well, ChatGPT is my preferred choice, gives the most thorough answers. Gemini is Google's version of an assistant. Yep. So if you're a heavy Google user, you might want to start there. It gives really direct answers, which I like. Yep. Claude gives the most personal or human sounding answers. Yep. So if you wanted to have something that sounds like a conversation with another human being, try that out. I always recommend try all three. Yeah. Use the exact same prompt in ChatGPT, in Gemini, and in Claude, and decide which answer you like the best.
Right.
Because a decision that I think we all need to make in today's day and age is, what is our AI assistant going to be?
And going back to our earlier conversation, most of these assistants now are multimodal. In other words, you can get an image, text, you can get everything with the same interface. It used to be you had to go to different tools
Sites.
to get
Yeah,
that.
you're right.
So you can get a multimodal response using just ChatGPT free. So I usually will type in, hey, I want to, or I wonder if I could. I'll even type that. Explain what I want, and then I'll say, ask me questions until you can tell me if this is possible. And it's incredible what kind of questions you'll get back. And most of them start with, I never thought of that. I never thought of that. I never thought, which is telling me what I need to give it in order to give me that output. You ever tried that?
It's truly amazing the comfort that I'm developing with back and forth thought partner conversations
Yeah.
with an AI assistant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stunning to me how personal the conversations can feel.
Right.
One of my very favorite questions to ask is, what have I forgotten to ask you?
Yeah. I
Right.
do that one too.
So if I'm developing a lesson plan, right, and I've worked my way through a series of prompts to get me to a lesson plan that I think is pretty good,
Yeah.
one of the things that I'll say is, what am I forgetting to ask?
Right.
And it will evaluate my lesson plan and say things like, well, you've forgotten to ask for a differentiated
Yeah.
activity. You've forgotten to ask about how you might be able to better reach students who are learning English as an additional language. You might be interested in a modification
Yeah.
for the second activity, right? It's stunning to me how helpful it becomes as a thought partner, and how open it is about helping you to craft your own thinking.
Yeah. I think it's always giving you what you want, right? It's always trying to give you what it thinks you want.
Sure.
And I catch myself a lot asking it, just similar to what you're saying, but I'll say, I think we're going down the wrong path here. I originally asked for blah, blah, blah. Do you think we've gone off track? And it'll say stuff like, oh, great observation. We have gone off a little bit. Let's get back to what you originally said. But you don't realize that you're leading it down that path by what you're asking. So I think it's great to check it.
Well, you brought up, that's a really important skill for us to learn as users of AI, right? Is that AI, the agent's just trying to please you,
Yeah.
right? The assistant is just trying to give you the product you've asked for, which is inherently biased, right? Like, we don't always want exactly
Right.
what we've asked for. Sometimes it's good to have a challenge partner.
Right.
So just think about that as a skill that students need to learn in today's day and age, because let's be real, they're going to work with AI assistants as thought partners for their entire professional careers.
Right.
So one of the things that I think is interesting in an AI discussion for educators is we've got to get good at understanding what the traps are, what the pitfalls are of the tools that we've embraced, and then we've got to teach kids to avoid those pitfalls.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the reasons for us to develop skill at either AI agents or assistants is because we've got to understand what they can do and what they can't do, what the mistakes are for users, what the traps are for users, and then we've got to turn around and start teaching that stuff to our kids. Because if they don't recognize that an AI tool can be biased or that it's only trying to give you the answers that it wants, then that sets them up for misunderstandings when they're using the tool later.
Absolutely. Bill, this has been a great conversation. I think last thing we'll just wrap up with here, just a couple thoughts on this. We mentioned earlier that this is the worst version.
It's incredible.
This is the foundational models, but these are the worst things we're ever going to use. So caution, right, when we move forward. Or what are your thoughts about that as it moves so fast?
You know, every single time I talk about AI, there are people who have very serious concerns. And I guess I do too, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does this mean for human creativity?
Right.
Well, what is the point of being creative when an AI assistant can generate better content faster than you or I can ever?
Yeah.
What does this mean for the future of work? I read an article the other day that said that AI as it currently exists can replace all white collar work within 5 years. So what is the
Scary,
future?
right?
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
the future of work look like?
Right.
What is the impact on the environment? AI prompts use more energy than a traditional Google prompt. So what's the consequences on the environment in the long term? What's the consequences for bad actors, right?
Yeah.
Just because we're using AI to do wonderful, productive things doesn't mean everybody is.
Right.
So I have lots of concerns about AI in the long run. But in the short term, my goal is for every student to learn at the highest levels. Our promise to the kids in our community is that they're going to learn the essentials at grade level or higher every year. And if we're going to pull that off, we need 1,000 different ideas about how to teach things. There's no one strategy that's going to help all students learn at high levels. We're going to need multiple ideas to pull that off. And if ChatGPT can help me to generate those ideas, I'm willing to use it all that I can right now because I want to see more kids learn.
Yeah.
So I don't know in the long run whether AI will be good or bad for humanity. But I do know that in the short run, if it can help you to find a strategy to reach one more kid, that's 100% worth investing in.
Yeah. Bill, I know we could talk about this for hours, and I really appreciate the time you spent with me so far on this. Thank you for your thoughts.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
When time is tight, professional learning should be more than theory. It has to lead to action. That's where our AI assistants come in. Built for busy educators, these tools are your shortcut to clarity, turning new learning into next steps fast. Whether you're unpacking a strategy, designing a lesson, or writing an email to families, Solution Tree's new AI assistants help you apply what you've learned without second guessing. It's like having your own educator assistant available 24/7 for free. Get started today at ai.solutiontree.com.
Hi, we're here with Heather Frizzell.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So currently you're the superintendent of schools at Fox Lake Grade School District 114.
That is
It's
correct.
a big title, right? Suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah. Far
Before-
north suburbs of Chicago. Like if you squint from my office, you can pretty much see Wisconsin. That's how
Okay.
north we're talking.
Far
yeah.
north. So suburb is loosely.
Loosely, a loosely used term.
Okay,
Yes.
great. And before that, you were Education Services Director for Kildare County School District 96.
Mhm.
Are they like sequential 96 to 114 by
They are not.
geography?
They
Okay.
are not.
All right.
It is randomly selected across the county. I can't explain it. I just know where I work and
Right.
the numbers tell the story.
Great. But you've been an administrator at all level, right? Elementary, middle, and high.
I've been really blessed to have a ton of great opportunities. Elementary principal, middle school principal, curriculum liaison to Adlai Stevenson High School. The ed services piece was just kind of a fancy title for supporting all things special education.
Right.
And that all kind of culminated in me being ready to serve where I get to do now, which is the superintendent in Fox Lake.
Great. And keynoting here at
Yeah,
the Institute,
yeah,
right? Author,
keynoting,
associate, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it's busy. It's fun.
Yeah, we were talking before we started here that I feel like these events are sort of like the Disneyland for.
Oh my God, they for sure are.
teachers.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, I think it's a rare thing to get together with educators, and granted, some are voluntold to
Right.
attend the PLC Institute, but in large measure, people really, really want to be here and are coming in to learn. So when you start with that and having such incredible experience in the room, and by experience, I mean first-year teachers to our I'll say our vintage
Right.
educators who have served in so many different ways and are all along that learning continuum. And then you add in the incredible faculty who's at an event like this. It just kind of creates this thunderstorm of awesomeness where we're all so excited to come share and learn as presenters. Participants are excited to share and learn. And it just coalesces to be this really powerful place where the energy, by the end of day one, it's vibrating.
Right. It really
is. And by midday two, you'll see people just kind of holding their heads because they're
My
just
brain's
so
full.
full
Yeah.
of information and energy and all the things we want to take back. And I think it's a rare thing to have 2.5 days to get as an educator to come learn and pour into yourself, pour into others to learn. And as someone who's so humbled to get to present and even keynote, like seriously, keynote.
I know.
Just the idea to be in that space with my colleagues, with our participants, it fills us up. So I think it's an energy exchange that you don't really get until you're here and walk away and go, I don't know what just happened, but that was pretty cool.
Right. Do you remember did you ever attend these as an educator?
I sure did.
Do you remember your first one that you attended?
Yes, I had absolutely no idea what to do.
Me either.
Same?
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know why the chairs were tipped against the tables. I walked in and I was
Yeah.
like, what's happening?
And you almost fall because you're like,
What is going
this
on?
is
Like,
an
oh, these are
obstacle
saved,
course?
these are
It's like
saved,
an
these are
entry
saved.
task?
Right.
Yeah.
And what I realized, what was really powerful for me was I came with a small group of teachers from my school district. And when I got here and saw thousands of people in the room, all there for the same purpose and the same reason and had the same, I guess, basic understanding, was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then that connection between I was a small group representing a bigger district that came and experienced this amazing thing was pretty impactful for me.
Yeah. Changes your practice.
Yeah. How does it change when you stand on the stage in front of that crowd?
I'm still in it.
Yeah.
I'm still in it.
Yeah.
So, I've been lucky enough to attend an institute before I presented, then, be picked to come give breakouts. And then the fact that I get to keynote is just mind blowing to me still.
Yeah.
You're still in it.
Right.
You're still in it because from a personal perspective, my greatest professional mentors were Rick, Becky, and still Bob. So to stand where they stood,
Right.
and talk about what meant so much to them and has made such an impact on kids and education and just globally, it's amazing. And to be in a space where everybody's feeling the same way, is just it's an incredible opportunity to come and learn.
I feel like we're both not saying it, but it can be life-changing. It really can.
It better be
Career
life-changing.
Right?
If you come in with an open mind and heart, it will be.
Right.
Can change your
felt that
career,
way
can
for
change
me.
your life because you are empowered to change more lives.
Right.
And if your educational tank is empty, this is the place that you fill it up.
Absolutely right. You talk about, and a lot of people talk about, educator exhaustion.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? What do you see when you hear educator exhaustion?
It means the metaphor that I think about a lot, and sometimes even when I look in the mirror, is this idea of trying to be superheroes.
Yeah.
And we fly these capes behind us where we're going to be all things to all people. And that cape is made of lead
Yes.
because you can't carry it alone, or you can't do it for very long without running out of momentum and tolerance and speed and energy for it. That's what I mean. And when I think about what makes that cape, it's always been there for educators.
Right.
I think what's added to the overall mass is that educators are now in our society expected to be everything to everyone. Meanwhile, educate, be attentive to state standards, be accountable to data proficiency, and try to keep up with ever-changing mandates. And when I say educator, I mean all of us. So that's administrators, that's teachers, our paraprofessionals, everybody in the field. Is just kind of this tornado of expectations on all of us, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. At the end of the day, when you're just completely, as a classroom teacher, you're worn out from pouring into students all day, and you still need to go home and grade and prep and plan for the next day. It's exhausting. As an administrator, as a superintendent myself, I'm getting calls all night, some nights, because we have to be on all the time. Because if we aren't, who's going to be there for our students? And it's not a choice I would never not make. I'm also, I think, just honest enough to acknowledge that it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I think Mike Matos says, we don't get a summer vacation. We work 12 months in 10 and we've earned it.
Right.
And I believe that to be true.
Why is that important to invest in as an educator? Why do you need to recharge your battery?
Well, because it's drained.
Yeah.
Because it's out. And the thing about educators is we care so much. And it is a rare thing to meet an educator who comes into whatever they do and say, you know what, I want to be average today.
Right.
I'm going to all mean
Phone it
some.
in. That's right. All
Yes, we
means
might.
some. Right.
Right? We all, for the vast majority, do this because we care so hard about kids and learning and changing the world. So it's important, if not, in fact, necessary, everyone to just stop, take a breath, learn together, be in a room, be in a space where you're with your people. And you can turn to a person and say, I'm exhausted. And they'll look, thank you for saying it.
You. Right.
Me too. Me too.
Right.
And then to be in that space and then have so many amazing sessions to choose from. Certainly there are the keynotes, and we want everybody to attend the keynotes just for that's our guaranteed and viable curriculum. That's best practice for us, is let's make sure we're all speaking the same language so that nobody leaves with a PLC light or a diet PLC understanding. But then you have breakouts where you pick, okay, this is a place I need to lean in. This is a place where I need to learn more. I know in my keynote, I challenged participants to really specify, use the morning's learning as both a place to pat yourself on the back because you're doing great work, but also, okay, now you know a little bit more. Find your breakouts. Find the places where you need to get a little bit stronger in your craft. Where else do you get to do that in our profession?
You don't, yeah.
You don't. It's, I'm in my classroom, I'm in my office, I'm in my building or my district, and I'm doing the best I can. And I'm making decisions every minute, every second of every day. This is a place to just come be poured into. And it's a rare thing in any profession, but certainly ours. And that's why I just think you said it's Disneyland. This is a magical place for an educator to get to be.
Yeah.
The essential content in day one is just getting clear on what is this whole PLC thing anyway? Making sure that we're clear on 3 big ideas, 4 questions, and then the critical elements of the how of the work. So that's what I get to talk about in the keynote. In breakout sessions, I'm presenting on Maria Nielsen's book, The 15-Day Challenge.
Yep.
Maria, I think, is concurrently in Tucson presenting, so I get to do that session to represent her work. And then my afternoon session is on our new publication, All Means All. It literally just landed on my porch this weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm
I love how
excited
you
to share
talked
that
about-
content.
You didn't say all means some or all means a few. All means all. So talk just a little bit about that.
Yeah. So All Means All is an absolute labor of love. It's the follow-up book to Yes We Can, which my colleagues Julie Schmidt and Jeannie Spiller and I published in 2016. So Yes We Can was the first book talking about collaboration between general and special educators under the premise of, how about it's just education?
Right.
How about we just work together for all students because we're better together? All kids struggle with some things. All kids excel at some things. And how about if we put our brains together instead of working in isolation by title or by role and just educate?
Right.
In All Means All, we take what was pretty conceptual. There's certainly tools in Yes We Can, but we wanted to lay the foundation in that book. All Means All is all tools and strategies. So if you want to live in a Yes We Can way, what are ways you can dig into the work? We believe that there are 6 core principles that we've seen now in the time we've been doing the work since publication. 6 core principles are living and breathing in schools where they're saying all means all, and not just saying it, but the data shows it. Because anybody can say anything, but we're seeing dramatically increased results, or we see these 6 core principles at work, and then the book is structured around those principles and then how to work on them. Right. If that's what you need to do, here are a million different tools to help you find your way.
My takeaway from a lot of your messages are it's the practical application of
Absolutely.
the PLC framework. Yeah.
You're not going to get drowned in theory.
Right.
You'll hear some because it's important to be able to articulate best practice and research in the field to explain why we're doing something. And then, so what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So how are you going to take this and lead the work back in your context?
Yeah, I think it's great you point that out because that's often, it's evergreen, right? The why behind it is the same, has been the same for 20 years, 25 years, right? Because that's what the research tells us is the things that work.
Correct.
It's putting it in a practical lens and dealing with it in modern times or in today's classroom.
Correct.
Is what you're all bringing to us.
Absolutely. And that's why the Institute every year is a different experience.
Right.
Because every time you come, there's a new sprinkle on the cupcake of education, and it's time for us to tackle it together.
Yeah.
So we don't lose the tried and true. It's just a matter of how do we continue to get better as we learn together in the craft.
Yeah. How do you make the most of this? Because I do feel like day one, I was just on cloud 9. It was so exciting. Yep. And then day 2, I was like, my brain hurts. And by day 3, I was like, what did I hear? It's all starting to pour out.
Yeah.
I don't keep it. I'm not retaining it. So how do I get the most out of this? And what should I try to take home? With me?
That's a great question because it can be completely overwhelming. I end each of my sessions with a reflection point of what's a first next start and a first next stop. So that
say more.
Yeah. So it's easy to leave with a colossal laundry list of all the things. And first of all, if you're here and your colleagues are back home, they know you're learning something for 3 days and they're terrified of what you're bringing back.
Right.
It's new books, new things, new protocols, new stuff. So the challenge of being here is how can I take what I hear, apply it in my context in a way that doesn't overwhelm the great work that every school district is already doing? How do we complement the work to keep getting better without completely overturning the apple cart and overwhelming people who already have the lead cape on and are exhausted?
Right.
So my best advice, and even when I'm here listening to my colleagues in keynotes and breakout sessions when I get to attend, is, okay, what's resonating for me in the here and now? What's one first start, one first stop? Because I think that mindset keeps us, we're not just going to keep starting new things, but what needs to happen and then what perhaps needs to stop or change so that we continue to build the greatness in our schools. The biggest change, though, is we're going to do that together so that everybody's cape gets a little bit lighter.
Yep.
So we're capitalizing on the strengths of the people around us. I'm really, really good at a few things, meaning there's a whole lot that I'm not, and I need somebody to round that out for me. If I try to be all those things and do all the things I don't yet know, or quite frankly, don't care to know, you feel the cape get heavy again. But if we lean in together and say, this work just makes sense, and the more we do it collaboratively, even as a singleton, you got people with you.
Right.
You got people in your school site. You work virtual, jump online,
Yep.
work the way you teach. But just a commitment to, if this makes perfect sense for learning and learners, how do we not do it? And if we can do it together to lighten the load for everybody,
Even better.
how do we say no?
Right.
How do we say no to that?
Yeah, taking the time even to, while you're here, to have those conversations, right? I love to me, that's ingrained in those 4 questions too, is what do we start, what do we stop? I love that.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
love that idea.
But it's so
thanks for
cool
sharing that.
talking about the energy here. Like, you'll see people, so there's team time at the end of day 2 where collaborative teams, whoever you've come with, or even if you haven't come with anybody, you just glom onto people
Right.
and you just process, and we're all in the room to answer questions. You'll see people in that team time room until 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, we're long done. We're having a glass of water somewhere.
Right.
Our participants are in there at lunch. They'll be out in these corridors just digging into the work, because that's what we do. And the energy here is like you can't not talk about it, which is, we coming back to the whole idea of what's so exciting about it is because you can't not talk about what you're learning,
Right.
because it just makes sense.
Absolutely. Okay, Heather, this has been amazing. Thank you. I really
Thank you.
appreciate your time. What is your favorite, how many institutes have you been to or events you've been to?
I've been doing this for 15 years, so
So a few.
a couple.
A couple.
Yeah.
What's your favorite experience?
Oh, my favorite experience at an institute?
Sure.
My favorite experience is getting called over by any team, and it happens every time, called over by any team, and somebody in that team says, I heard you talking, you have to come tell these people. And my immediate response is, I'm happy to help, but you were there, you tell them. Your voice matters more, because you're like standing up, and you get invited into that vibe, and you get to co-create with people who are here just soaking it up. That is the most fun.
Yeah.
The most fun to just see amazing educators be fabulous together and just be a fly on the wall to know that maybe in your own way you helped impact that a little.
That's all. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Heather, again, thank you for your time.
Thank
Really
you.
great talking with you. Good luck finishing your year.
Thank you. Thank you. 4 days. We
4
got
days.
this.
You can make it.
We got this.
Anybody who says school winds down has never been a teacher.
Oh no,
before,
it
never
winds
been an
up.
educator. It
May
does
is
not wind
mayhem.
up. Right.
Without question.
Since 1998, Solution Tree has worked to transform education worldwide by empowering educators to raise student achievement. In pursuit of that mission, the PLC at Work Institutes are designed to bring educators together for 2.5 days of shared learning and collaboration. With a brand new 4th keynote, updated content, and dynamic breakout sessions, you'll gain advanced tools to refine your approach and make a bigger impact. For this podcast series, From Foundation to Future, PLCs and AI in Education, We'll be learning with our next guest at the PLC at Work Institute in Sacramento, California on July 9th through the 11th of this year, 2025. To learn more about the full slate of PLC at Work Institutes and to register, navigate to www.solutiontree.com/events podcast.
So our next guest is Gabe Schmidt,
Yes.
superintendent at Veneta Schools,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Almost Dr. Gabe Schmidt, right?
ABD.
AVD, yeah, right.
All right.
And so tell us a little bit about your school district, Gabe. Thanks for joining us.
Sure. Thanks, Sam. I appreciate having me. We have about 1,260 to 1,290 students on any given day within our district, pre-K through 12th grade. We're based out of Northeast Oklahoma, and if you're in Oklahoma and you drive I-44, you know the McDonald's that goes over the top. That's us.
That's you,
So
okay.
stop by. Don't just wave at Will Rogers, but come on into town and come see us.
Nice. All right, and we were just talking beforehand. So your background is middle school, high school educator,
Yes,
right?
right. Yeah, primarily middle school.
Yeah.
It's my jam, where I learned and cut my teeth and learned so many things, and spent some time with in the high school ranks
Yeah.
also. Did that as a teacher and an administrator over the
You
years.
said 19 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then how many years have you been superintendent here at Veneta?
This is my 10th month.
10th month.
Yes.
Okay, so not quite a full
Not
year.
quite a full revolution around the sun yet.
Yeah.
So.
You call yourself rookie superintendent. I've heard you say that before,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, Gabe, we're talking to you today about, we're here at the Tulsa event, you driving in, bringing your teachers
Yes.
in, right? And one of the things that we want to talk about is, last year you brought a few people here. And this was
Correct.
before you were officially, or you
Yeah,
just started, right? You
Yes.
just started.
Yeah, our team had begun learning and knowing a little bit about Solution Tree, and we're ready to be, I guess, exposed to it.
Yeah.
And come to the mountaintop is what I
Right.
refer to this place as, and learn. And so we dialed it in, began focusing on our leadership team, our principals to understand what it means to really want to know what do we want students to know and be able to do.
Right.
That's my primary focus. And the one question I've asked this entire year. So they came, there's about 8 to 12 of us that attended right here at the convention
Yeah.
center. And from that led to other conversations. And then through the summer, we continue to invest in our principals and our leadership teams to begin to ask, again, it's question one, what do you want students to know and be able to do? And that focus over and over again. And it wasn't just with them, it's also in our community.
Yeah.
And so when you go in the community and talk, we'd hear things like, well, how to measure from a tape measure, how to tell time on an analog clock.
Right.
Those were things that were coming back on written notes or feedback. Didn't matter if you're going to Rotary or the Lions Club or other community venues. The feedback was consistent. We want students to also know how to balance a checkbook.
Right.
Things like debits and credits
Yeah.
matter. So from that, it's been a nice investment, seeing a team. And then during the year, from those conversations we've had, and then asking teachers, what do you want students to know and be able to do? And just kind of planting that seed led to this year to where we multiplied by fourfold and now we have 35 of us.
Yeah,
here.
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So go back a second. You said, come to the mountaintop.
Mm-hmm.
And I describe to people, this is like these events are like the Disneyland for educators,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean by mountaintop?
Yes.
And why is that to you?
So you come to the source code.
Okay.
Almost. I mean, it's not L.I. Stevenson High School necessarily where it began, yet
Yeah.
you're coming to people who have learned, lived, and the behavior that you have leads forward for students' learning and progress.
Right.
And so instead of having to guess or hear it from me as a poor reflection of what it is, you get to see where the light is.
Yeah.
And actually step into the balcony.
Yeah, that's nice of you to say. And I agree with you. As a teacher, I came to events. Did you come to events as a teacher?
Yes.
What, do you remember your first one?
It was in the Edmond area.
Okay.
And every other year, where I was, every other year we had Solution Tree at Work.
Yeah.
And being able to go and as a hosted event and to hear Mike Mattos is the one who resonated with me.
Yeah.
Just being middle school, and he had that middle school background.
Right.
And how they, just with the intervention enrichment time, with the old school paper notebooks of how to track students to come and go for that. I was like, we've got to do this.
Yeah.
And so then it took me 3 years. We almost got it. And then I was moved to another school, and they started the year after I left.
Yeah.
As their 2 years left, they started the year I left. And then when I landed at the final school as a principal, it took us 3 years to get there. We got there. And then watching that piece, it's because of that first time.
Yeah, right.
And then this is like my 10th or 11th time. I'd have to go double check my notes, but like to come to this.
Yeah.
And
It's still meaningful to you.
very much so, because
Yeah.
every time you come, there's something different that resonates. A good book, for instance, when you read, whether it's the Bible, kind of those pieces from that, or you come from maybe it's Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective
Yep.
People, or something like laying the foundation. And with from texts here, you take something different every time because you're at a different place where you are.
Yeah.
And so that's why.
Yeah, I remember, after several events, going and sitting with Tim Brown, like every session I went, I told him that today. I was like, I remember the last PLC I went to. I went to every one of your sessions because I just really was buying what you were laying
Yes.
down, and it really resonated with me a
Right.
lot.
And him being nearby to us in Missouri,
Yeah.
like it also connects for
Yeah.
us here with how he approaches, and just it's meaningful.
Yeah, great. And so we talked about 34 people that you brought, or 35.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier, you talked about, I said, why bring that many people? And you told me it was an investment in people.
Yes.
And it's about the team, were the two things that I wrote down you said.
Absolutely.
So tell me about investment in people. What do you mean by that?
So for me, the most important piece we have is human capital.
Okay.
As a superintendent, I've learned a lot about capital investment.
Right.
This year, quick study financially speaking, but it's the human side of the business that is the critical mass to do things well, to do it right, and then to do it in a way that's sustainable. And if I invest in you, then you have a chance of taking what you've learned or understood, maybe wrestled with and not fully agree with. I get it.
Yeah.
But over time, you become better in practice, and it impacts those scholars that you have in your classroom.
Yeah.
And so the human side becomes not just you, but then later from the experience, and whether you think of a coaching tree and kind of that influence that you have, it branches out. And then, Sam, you have a chance to go out and like impact other people.
Right.
And then hopefully you take some of the pieces that you've learned while you're with us to grow other communities, or even ideally you stay with us all the way through. But we're going to pour into you, so you want to stay, and you believe because you're not alone. It's this team piece, because we're all begin working the same direction.
Yeah.
That's where the magic happens.
Right. And speaking of that, we were just talking to you just left team time. So dedicated collaboration time at events is something that we really do a lot. And you find that valuable, I assume.
Yes. All 4 of our teams. So we have 4 schools in our district: lower, upper, elementary, middle school, and high school. And our principals were working with their site teams today, and to hear some dialogue from that. In fact, at the end of the event, we had one of our veteran teachers. In fact, she goes, "I'm the oldest one here." And someone else said, "Well, I'm actually older." But like her thought process was, I still got to learn something new, and like to reflect and build on that capacity. And it was nice to hear that. At lunch today, I sat down at a picnic table outside with 2 of our teachers, high school teachers, right? Which can be some of we're ingrained as a high school, secondary level educator, like, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
But for them to hear the dialogue back and forth and kind of what they were processing, going through, they just heard Luis Cruz speak and talk through some components. They were thinking differently from where they would have a day and a half ago.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so I was going to ask, do you see that we were talking earlier too about teaching teachers now instead of teaching students. Do you get to see that learning happen in your teachers' eyes and the conversations? You're like, it's sinking in. I hear it in what you're talking about. You see that happening?
Yes. And so we've done some pieces throughout the year to try to introduce. Our leadership team, we were excited. So in September, October, we're like, let's do something over winter break, Christmas break. And so we tapped into John Vander Els, and he came in January 3rd, which was very good. However, we also learned by December and January is like, maybe we should find a better time than January.
Right.
So, but with that, it opened up some pathways with some really good conversation and through that. But those are moments to see some learning. So I feel like now that we're here, it's kind of an express pass, of course.
Right.
Like you fast tracked,
Yeah.
you're drinking from
It's
a fire
intense.
hose or two,
Yeah.
full on. And while it's happening, before we got to lunch today, really, I'm questioning, like, is it happening? Like, I know
Right.
what I've seen before, but is it happening today? And it is.
Yeah.
It really is. And then we get to spend more time with John in a week.
Yep.
And to build on this and the energy and momentum we have from that, what I feel like in my first, not quite completed
Right.
year, we're leaning the right direction.
Yeah.
And being focused on where we're headed and charting a course and finding true north.
Yeah.
It's worth the time.
Okay, so you just left team time, you had an hour, right, to just sit and talk.
Yes.
What are some of the key things you heard surfacing, like some key learnings that you're taking away from this?
That we need to find ways to do some piece or components differently than we currently have.
Okay.
One thing that I heard, and of course, I don't know when this is going to come out,
Yeah.
so hopefully it doesn't hinder principal's work
Right.
as I twist in my chair a little bit,
Yeah.
is how do we have common plan?
Yeah.
Because at our secondary level, because of our size, it's economies of scale, like we're not quite there yet. Now we have some ideas on how to do that. It's a matter of when and are we ready for it? And so that's something like today, like that conversation came to light.
Great.
And then also the whole piece, which I just talked to you about intervention and enrichment stuff.
Yeah.
This was first time I heard 14 years ago.
Yeah.
But and so here I am 14 years later. It's like now we are looking at how do we do that well again within our middle school and our high school and all the way through our elementaries. And so that conversation is happening. And all those pieces, having lived it and seen false starts and not having real clarity, can hinder some pieces. So how do we, well, I'm going to pause for a second. The mantra I've had this year, whether I've lived by it or not, I've said it, and I've asked a few people to check me if I need to. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And now we're here taking all this great information in.
Yeah.
And like, let's do it.
Right.
Absolutely. Like, I'll stand with you and do it. The timing of that application and how to bring in your colleagues with you, that's the next step.
Yeah.
So it's that we've got the first follower. Now it's having that second follower.
Yep. It's the flywheel effect,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we're getting we're getting some
Mhm.
momentum on the flywheel.
Mhm.
Yeah. You're going to give some advice to future people that are listening to this podcast and talk to them a little bit about what can they do, or how do they make the most out of an event when they bring their folks to that, or they're
Mhm.
paying for that, investing in that time and money to bring somebody to an event like this. We talked earlier, maybe I can say it this way too. It's worth the time to recharge your battery, because it's difficult to say, well, we're going to go 3 days, right?
Right.
So let's talk about that first. Why is it worth taking time to pause and learn professionally?
Creating margin in your life allows for what I don't do a great job of, which is to pause. And the old adage of stop and smell the roses, to like give space to allow the moment to happen. This venue, if by carving it out and planning it out, you get something that you wouldn't ever have a chance to be of. I asked a few colleagues, leading up to this and even to it, I said, what's some of the best professional learning you've ever been part of? And each one said, it's a solution tree, whether it's PLC at work or RTI at work. The structure and the framework that's there leads to better opportunities going forward. So it's totally worth the investment because you create the space through that. What I've noticed over the last few years, it's not just packets like that are there, because there's so much information. Like you have a hub you can draw on, but that journal, that notebook, to actually physically write it down and like process through what's in your mind and take doesn't sound like much, but 60 seconds even to write down what you're thinking, so you can come back and refer to that. It matters. And then once it's there, you really believe in collaboration. I think we haven't talked about that at all, but
No, yeah.
because of how I grew up educationally speaking, collaboration is in my bones. And to me, it's as clear as day for why we collaborate. My job now is to help others understand the value in collaboration and how the results that come through that leverage life in a way that you couldn't do on your own.
Yeah. That goes back to the quote you said I wrote down in our first conversation was, it's all about the team.
Yes.
That's the first thing you said to me.
No, it is. Yeah. And with the team, whether we're talking about in the classroom in this case, but also it translates to our coaches,
Yeah.
like athletically speaking
Right.
too, to where when you have a healthy team, because we all have a mission, we understand the vision, the goals, and our core values of what we're working towards, and we're highlighting those, we're bringing those to light, and we're always coming back to it. So we have a reference point.
Yep.
Those are things that I'm responsible for ensuring that we have put in place. And when the team has a reference point, and we're not quite there yet. Truly, we're making progress and we're leaning in the right direction. Yeah. And hopefully we continue to lean into it,
right,
and maintain our balance.
Yep.
Don't keep your feet under yourself and stay in that athletic stance.
Yep. Former coach talking there.
Absolutely, right. But the team, that's where the talent is. And the smartest people in the room, it's the room.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so I'm hoping the hard lessons I've learned before this year pay dividends in how we approach it going forward as we support our people.
Speaking of the room, what did you happen to look at any of your new people that attended the first time? I mean, there's something about when you walk into that keynote room and there's thousands of people in there that are all there for the same reason. There's just a palpable energy and realizing that those chairs are tipped over because people are saving spaces for people, and that's people going to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
What am I doing? Is that exciting still? You agree with that, right?
Yes.
You feel that,
well, you,
right?
you feel the hair kind of stand on the back of your neck, and what you come because you want to become a better version of yourself. Yeah. And you regardless of your role, your capacity, there's ways to lead in incredible ways and moments, because I've worked in a building before where the most influential person in the entire campus was our custodian. Yeah. Another one was the secretary, right? Another one was this teacher, right? It doesn't matter what your role or capacity is, your influence and that impact, those things matter. And so when you come and you're part of that with other people,
well, even with 35 folks coming from your district, that's a percentage. That's a small percentage of your full staff. Yeah. And so to walk in that room and say, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I'm not, even though I'm a small group of my district, there's so many people here that are going to hear the same message or on the same path. It's
and then as
reassuring,
you
right?
Definitely. And because as you go through the breakouts and those sessions, or you hear the keynote, the struggles we have in Veneta are similar to the struggles someone else has nearby or across the country. And then when you connect, like I heard, like I've exchanged email, I'll follow up with this person, you have new friends, and people that you can relate to through this.
Okay, so tell me about we skipped this. I'll come back to it here. Give me the superintendent's view of, you're going to send people to an event at Solution Tree. What do they need to? What should they expect? What do they want to make the most out of it? What can they do to make the most out of that?
First,
experience?
If you're on board, book early.
Yeah.
Don't wait, and then begin. So make sure that your leadership team clearly understands the why.
Okay.
And
so you're front loading the experience.
Front load,
okay.
absolutely,
Right.
Which is backwards oftentimes from sometimes how you want to do grassroots on some movement. But in this case, it's important that your team close to you really understands why. So For us, it's taken us, if you want to look at it, it's 2 years, 2-year process. Being fortunate to come in early to this position, we're able to lead into this. But give it the time. Again, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And I'm not saying I am flawless at that, but it's embedded enough now to where it's like, we're going to get there. Like, we're headed this direction. Allow that time to percolate and soak in as you build that investment. But for a soup side, someone else told me this, like, where you budget your dollars is what's important to the district. And so carving out, finding ways to allocate capital, financially speaking, to invest in other capital, the human side of the business, to grow, will pay dividends in time. And it takes a view for the long term, because I've been a part of this now for more than 20 years. And to not fully understand it when I first began, as I was trying to understand how to crawl, let alone walk as a teacher, happened because of practices that were already in place around me. And without those people, I guess for me, that's why I want to invest in people, is because there's been so much investment in me over the years. So just continuing that process.
Great. Gabe, this has been a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate your time. Looking forward to calling you Dr. Schmidt soon, right? Thanks. I really apprate it.
Yeah, thanks,
and good
Sam.
luck.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah. And we're here, I mean, because of our team.
Yeah.
And so that's the piece that matters, of the work they've done to get us here to this point. And so I'm glad that I get to be the voice, I guess, in this case.
Yeah.
And so thanks for the hosting.
Absolutely.
And even the blue men and names.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We appreciate you tuning in to this new series, From Foundation to Future, PLC and AI in Education. Make sure to go to our solutiontree.com/podcast page to listen to other episodes. Subscribe today on your favorite app. I'm Sam Fritz, Director of EdTech and AI at Solution Tree. Thank you for joining us.